Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. The small town of Millfield had long been known for its picturesque scenery and a palpable sense of community. The sounds of children laughing and the sight of neighbors greeting one another on front porches painted a seemingly idyllic picture. But like many such towns, it carried secrets hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. On a crisp autumn morning, when the leaves crunched underfoot and the air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth, the tranquility was disrupted. A young girl named Lily Thompson, known for her vivid imagination and bright smile, failed to return home from a local park. When her mother, Sarah, noticed Lily's absence at the appointed dinner time, anxiety settled into her stomach like a stone. It was unlike Lily to stray far from home without warning. For Sarah, the trip to the park was short and frantic. Her calls for her daughter echoed through the trees, mingling with the whispers of the wind. The playground sat still, devoid of light. As dusk began to cloak the town in shadow, panic consumed Sarah. It was time to contact the authorities. By mid-evening, the Millfield Police Department had assembled a small task force. Officers combed through the park, retracing the girl's steps. As searchlights cut through the growing darkness, the echo of their footsteps seemed to awaken the quiet town. What started as a routine missing person report quickly morphed into something far more ominous. Little did Millfield know, they would soon be facing one of the darkest chapters in its history. The delicate balance between safety and danger was about to fracture. The victim, Lily Thompson, was the kind of girl who radiated joy. With her golden curls bouncing as she ran, she chased butterflies in the meadows behind her home. At just 8 years old, she had an insatiable curiosity about the world, her imagination spanning far beyond the confines of her small town. She loved to tell stories of brave knights and princesses, often casting herself as the hero embarking on grand adventures. Her family described her as a beacon of light, brightening their small living room each evening with her laughter. Sarah often marveled at how Lily could find beauty in the simplest things: a sunrise, a family game night, or the fresh-baked cookies cooling on the counter. To Sarah, the bond between mother and daughter was unbreakable, stitched together with shared memories and whispered secrets. But as the search continued into the night, reality began to pulsate through the fabric of Millfield's serene existence. Friends gathered at the Thompson home, exchanging worried glances and hushed voices. They brought casseroles, their hands offering comfort while their hearts echoed with dread. Sarah's conversations became erratic, punctuated by an occasional tremble in her voice, a strain of fear evident to all. Hours melted into the night, flickering lights casting long shadows that danced across the walls of the Thompson household. The police set up a command center in the living room, their expressions grave as they discussed their next moves. Each passing moment without Lily only compounded their urgency. With every minute that ticked by, the stark reality loomed larger. Lily was not just a missing child. She was the heart of a family, a vibrant spirit that most people had come to love and know. As dawn broke, casting a pale light over the town, the search shifted gears. The stakes were climbing if they were to find Lily. It was crucial to act fast. The echoes of laughter that had once filled the Thompson home were replaced by the heavy silence of hope, tainted with dread. In a town where every child was cherished, the implications of a missing girl left the air thick with anxiety, drawing a line between what was and what could be lost forever. The crime scene, With the sun rising, the Millfield Police Department intensified their search efforts, focusing on the park where Lily had last been seen. Officers set up a perimeter, guiding search dogs through the wooded trails and past the playground. Every rustling leaf and snapping twig heightened the tension, giving significance to every shadow that passed under their watchful eyes. The park, once a haven for children's laughter, was now transformed into a crime scene. Officers wore blue latex gloves as they meticulously combed through the area, their eyes scanning for anything out of place. The air was thick with unease, and an eerie stillness enveloped the surroundings, broken only by the calls of birds who seemed oblivious to the unfolding tragedy. Near the playground, one officer stumbled upon a small item, a pink t-shirt, stained and crumpled in the underbrush. It was the same shirt Lily had been wearing earlier that day. Recognition sank in like a lead weight. The realization hit hard that the search had transitioned from a rescue operation to something dark. Teams of officers quickly coordinated, calling in crime scene investigators to document and process the area, ensuring no detail would go overlooked. Just beyond the swings, disturbed earth caught the attention of a detective. Bending down for a closer inspection, he noticed fresh tire tracks leading away from the main path. His heart raced as he mentally cataloged the evidence, his thoughts racing through protocols and procedures. Every detail could have immense implications. The mood shifted when an officer investigating a nearby thicket suddenly emerged from the shrubbery. His grim expression was foreboding, and he motioned for the detective to join him. Hushed whispers rippled through the air as officers clustered around him. What he revealed sent chills spiraling through the Tima, small wooden charm, one that Lily always wore around her neck, lay half buried in the damp ground. Panic surged through the hearts of those gathered. In that moment, they were acutely aware that time was slipping through their fingers, and the stakes had escalated. With every piece of evidence gathered, the horrifying reality began to take shape. This was not merely a case of a lost child. This was a race against the clock to uncover the truth behind Lily's disappearance before it was too late. The innocence of Millfield had been shattered, replaced by a looming darkness that threatened to consume its cherished community. The early investigation. As the sun ascended higher in the sky, casting a stark brightness over the park, the environment starkly contrasted with the grim atmosphere gripping Millfield. The investigation gained momentum, with officers reaching out to residents for any potential leads. Flyers were distributed across the town, each adorned with a picture of Lily's beaming face. Detective James Turner, a seasoned investigator who had seen his fair share of unsettling cases, took the lead. He methodically organized the early stages of the investigation, holding briefings with his team to discuss strategy. They began by interviewing Lily's friends, teachers, and anyone who might have witnessed something unusual that might explain her disappearance. Each interview revealed a layer of the girl's world, painting a picture of her life. Among her friends, one girl mentioned a strange car had been parked near the playground the previous week, a vehicle without apparent occupants. The girl could hardly recall details, but the memory ignited a spark within the detectives. They noted it down and dedicated part of their resources to tracking down surveillance footage from nearby shops. The community's concern only grew. Parents cautiously clutched their children a little tighter, and whispers of anxiety spread like wildfire. Coffees were brewed endlessly in the break room, as detectives pored over each lead, combing through Lily's social media for any red flags or troubling interactions. They considered every angle. Each passing minute felt like a life lost, each glimmer of hope becoming increasingly fragile. Meanwhile, Sarah Thompson sat in the living room, a whirlwind of emotions crashing against her. Friends rallied around her, their presence a small comfort amidst the dark uncertainty that loomed. Sarah's mind replayed every moment leading up to Lily's disappearance, searching for answers. As the hours turned into a day, resignation wrapped around her like a heavy cloak. The sturdy facade of Millfield seemed to weaken, the threats that lurked beyond their quiet streets becoming all too real. The local news station picked up on the story, broadcasting updates from the scene and reinforcing the urgency of the matter. Images of Lily began circulating through social media, drawing the attention and concern of people outside Millfield. But as hope soared, fear began to weave its way through the hearts of the townsfolk. The very fabric of their close-knit community was at stake. And time was slipping away like sand through an open hand. The dead ends. Days turned into a week as relentlessly pursued leads fizzled, leaving the town of Millfield in a state of unnerving limbo. Detective James Turner felt the weight of frustration bearing down on him like leaden clouds. Each interviews yielded little useful information, and the surreal nature of the case began to gnaw at him. In his office, unmarked stacks of case files littered the table, an ever-growing testament to the mounting desperation. The surveillance footage from the nearby shops revealed only familiar faces, no sign of a mysterious car or strange activity near the park on the day Lily vanished. Friends began to turn on one another, their innocent recollections now distorted by fear. The once strong bonds of the community frayed as whispers of suspicion erupted, fueling an unintentional witch hunt. Within the confines of the police headquarters, Turner exhausted every viable option. He reached out to nearby jurisdictions, hoping to glean insights from unsolved cases that bore similar traits. But each inquiry led to more roadblocks. Reports of missing persons turned stale, and by the 10th conversation over a previously investigated case file, he felt disheartened. For every lead that emerged, countless false hopes followed, spiraling into dead ends. Detective Turner attended a town hall meeting with residents who were growing restless, their eyes flickering with frustration and fear. Parents demanded answers, the worry etched into their tired faces unmistakable. A mother stormed to the front, tears in her eyes, beseeching Turner for reassurance that Lily would be found. The weighing despair weighed heavy in the room as he struggled to maintain an aura of calm amidst rising tension. Outside, the seasons began to shift. The warm hues of autumn turned to the chill of a harsh winter. The holiday decorations that adorned local storefronts only brought deeper sorrow, a daily reminder of what was missing in Sarah's life. The small town echoed with an empty sentimentality, laughter stifled by the specter of Lily's absence. As the investigation continued to stall, Officer Martin, assigned to the case, noticed something alarming in the community's pulse, the emotions swirling within. Each household had morphed into a threatening atmosphere of distrust, fueling paranoia. Loneliness encroached on the joy of their simple lives, transforming sunny Millfield into a shadow of its former self. With every tick of the clock, they fought against the terrifying reality that Lily was still lost somewhere, beyond sight and grasp, and time was no longer on their side. A break in the case. In the gritty, grinding days that followed, hope seemed to dwindle like the autumn light. But just as the shadows cast by despair threatened to swallow the town whole, a seemingly insignificant tip arrived at the police station. An elderly man, a lifelong resident of Millfield, had seen something unusual while walking his dog outside the park 2 days after Lily's disappearance. He described a blue sedan parked at the edge of the park's entrance around the time she had gone missing. His memory was hazy, but he recalled seeing a girl. Wasn't certain it was Lily standing near the car with a man. The detail was vague, but it was enough for Detective Turner's heart to race with renewed energy. This was the first substantive lead in days. Quickly, Turner assembled a team to follow the breadcrumb trail. They began by canvassing neighborhoods near the park, knocking on doors and asking residents if they had seen any blue sedans frequented during that time. Before long, they stumbled upon the parked vehicle resting under an old oak tree just a few blocks away from the park entrance. Turner's team surrounded the car, their hearts pounding with both excitement and trepidation. The paint scratched and faded as if the vehicle had seen years of neglect. Officer Martin turned to block the path, while Turner approached the driver's side window. The passenger seat held remnants of what looked like children's toys and clothes, an unsettling juxtaposition against the reality of their search for Lily. Right then, a man approached from the adjacent property. He was scruffy and unkempt, but bore an expression of concern etched on his face. "That's my brother's car," he said, nodding toward the sedan. "He's been acting strange since the girl went missing." Without hesitation, the detectives turned their attention toward him. His demeanor struck a chord. Fit into the pattern of elusive behavior that had haunted them since they began their investigation. As they probed for more details, a lingering sense of apprehension crept into Turner's gut. Every bit of information was crucial, every bit potentially leading them to Lily. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows once again over the pavement as the officers took further note. Despite the intricate web of fear that had entangled the community, this revelation sparked a flicker of hope within Turner and his team. It was time to dig deeper into the man's past and his brother's habits, bringing them one step closer to unraveling the mystery of Lily Thompson's disappearance. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, light pierced through the gathering clouds of despair. The hunt was far from over, but the fight had reignited with newfound fervor. The suspect. The investigation rapidly gained momentum as detectives focused their efforts on the man connected to the blue sedan. His name was Brian Keller, a few years shy of 40, and his history was marred with a series of petty crimes mostly related to substance abuse and minor theft. Despite his less than stellar reputation, he had somehow eluded more serious charges until now. Detective Turner found himself poring over Brian's previous encounters with law enforcement. Each page painted a portrait of a troubled individual. Yet none of the files had prepared them for what they would discover next. There were mentions of unusual behavior, isolating himself for weeks, frequenting local parks at odd hours, and an uncomfortable fascination with youthful energy. Turner felt a chill run through him, piecing the fragments of Brian's life together, understanding that his involvement could indeed be closer than anyone had initially thought. Within a week, officers secured a warrant to search Brian's home, a deceptively nondescript building tucked away in a quiet neighborhood a few minutes from the park. As they approached the house, a sense of dread settled heavily on the air. The yard was overgrown, weeds thriving in a space that appeared unkempt and abandoned. Inside, the officers moved methodically, searching every room with the precision of a teen trained for the worst. Walls painted with peeling colors, remnants of hoarding, and vague echoes of a life once lived surrounded them. Turner's heart raced as he stepped into the cluttered living room, filled with toys, clothes, and what looked like children's belongings in stark contrast to the absence of children in Brian's life. In the corner of the room, a dark, heavy trunk caught Turner's eye. It stood out amid the chaos, its lock rusted yet unyielding. He pointed it out to Officer Martin, who quickly produced tools to pry it open. Each second felt like an eternity. As the lid creaked open, an almost palpable tension enveloped the room. Inside lay a collection of items that sent shockwaves through the Tima child's pink t-shirt matching the one Lily had been wearing the day she disappeared, along with a charmed necklace resembling the one Sarah had described. Identifying markers of Lily's young life were now tangible evidence within Brian Keller's home. Desperation crossed over Turner's mind, his instincts screaming that they had just uncovered the first key to a longer story. They had not merely found a suspect. They had inadvertently walked into the echo of a crime that began to solidify into a haunting reality. It was clear now Brian Keller was a person of interest, entwined in the fate of a girl who vanished without a trace. By the time they left the house, the uneasiness that had once blurred the town of Millfield now took a sharper shape. Detective Turner knew that the potential for discovery lay in unraveling the twisted threads of Brian's life. He remained steadfast in his resolve to find Lily. For every moment counted, every second could either bridge the gap to a reunion or wound them all deeper into despair. As he stood with his team outside the house, he felt the weight of urgency settle firmly on his shoulders. The time for action was now. The trial, as winter set in, blanketing Millfield in an icy grip. The apprehension surrounding Lily Thompson's case transformed into a fervent court battle. Brian Keller, once just a shadowy figure in the background, was now at the center of a highly publicized trial that captivated the community and beyond. The small courthouse, adorned with local photographs of smiling families and bustling street fairs, felt increasingly claustrophobic as emotions flared on all sides. Inside, the galleries overflowed with townspeople who clamored for answers. Expressions of both shock and disbelief painted across their faces. Sarah Thompson, clutching a small charm necklace in her hand, sat stoically at the front, her heart pounding as Brian faced the judge. She had lived through waves of sorrow and uncertainty. Yet now she was determined to find closure, whatever that might mean. Each testimony laid bare the haunting echoes of the days leading to Lily's disappearance. The prosecution brought forth evidence recovered from Brian's home, including the pink t-shirt and the charm necklace, connecting him beyond a reasonable doubt to Lily. Witnesses recounted his erratic behavior and lengthy absences. The defense attempted to refute the evidence, proposing a narrative of mental instability and addiction. But the threads they wove could not overshadow the shadows that lay over the shadows, that lay over the abandoned trunk. Detective Turner, having invested months of his life into every detail of the investigation, took the stand. Calm and resolute, he recounted the search efforts, the frantic nights spent combing through every inch of Millfield, and that fateful day in the park. His voice resonated with palpable anguish as he mentioned the toll the case had taken on families and friends. We never expected this in our community. We protect our children fiercely, he told the court, a fire igniting in his voice. We need to ensure that this does not happen again. As the trial continued to unfold, the emotional landscape was jagged and raw. Sarah finally had her turn on the stand. She spoke softly yet powerfully, detailing her life with Lily, the girl who had lit up their home with laughter. A wave of tears fell as she shared her hopes and desires for a future that would never be. "She was my everything," Sarah said, her words hanging in the air. "I just want to know why anyone would hurt her." The defense presented counter-arguments, attempting to construct a narrative of chaos around Brian's mental state. Yet as the evidence mounted and the emotional impacts refused to remain silent, the jury's resolve strengthened. After days of gripping testimony and closing arguments, the moment arrived. The jury deliberated, unyielding silence punctuating the time spent trapped within the confines of that small room. Tension wrapped around the courtroom like a vice, waiting for the verdict to break. Finally, the doors creaked open, and the jury entered with solemn expressions etched upon their faces. The foreman stood tall, clearing his throat, and read the words no one in Millfield would soon forget. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Brian Keller, guilty of kidnapping and first-degree murder." The verdict ripped through the courtroom. A cacophony of emotions erupted. Relief bubbled in Sarah's chest, yet the gravity of the truth left a familiar ache. Within that moment, there was both preservation of justice and an acceptance of the pain entwined in loss. As the gavel struck, sealing Keller's fate, the community was left to grapple with the aftermath. Millfield would begin to heal, yet the scars would remain, woven into the very soil of their small town as a reminder of the fragility of innocence and the enduring strength of love that can spark in the darkest hours. They would carry Lily's memory forward, a collective promise echoing through their hearts that she would never truly be forgotten. The aftermath. In the months following the trial, Millfield found itself at a crossroads, stretching between the remnants of grief and the possibility of healing. The snow that once blanketed the town melted into spring, coaxing life back into the gardens and the small parks where laughter had once echoed. Yet, the shadows of the past clung stubbornly to the corners of every street, an unshakable reminder of the innocence lost. At the Thompson home, Sarah navigated her days with an intricate blend of memory and sorrow. The house remained filled with the traces of Lily, her drawing still taped to the fridge, the toys lying in wait for a child who would never return to play with them. Sarah found herself at a standstill, her heart heavy yet unrelenting in seeking ways to honor her daughter. To help channel her grief, Sarah founded a community organization in Lily's name, safe haven for children to explore and thrive, a place that offered art classes, outdoor adventures, and mentorship programs. The initiative bridged the gaps left by tragedy, fostering connections within the community that had once felt like a distant memory. Millfield needed more than just recovery. It needed rebirth. As the organization took shape, volunteers came together, rallying with a unified goal. They painted walls bright colors and filled rooms with laughter, all the while embracing the undercurrent of healing that flowed through each encounter. Residents began to engage more with one another, checking in and reclaiming the joy that had unraveled with Lily's absence. Detective Turner, too, found purpose in the aftermath. He remained committed to his role within the department, but also dedicated time to community outreach, particularly focused on child safety and awareness. He partnered with local schools to provide workshops, ensuring children and their parents understood the importance of communication and vigil. The scars of the case remained etched in his heart, propelling him to protect the innocence of every child he encountered. But the emotional weight lingered. While Millfield emerged from the icy clutch of winter, the specter of dread sometimes darkened the sunny days. Conversations evoked memories that hadn't faded. Whispers of Lily's name kept her spirit alive, in a way that both comforted and haunted those who remembered. The town began to gather annually for a candlelight vigil on the anniversary of Lily's disappearance, a show of solidarity honoring both her and every child who faced turbulent waters in life. As the first anniversary approached, Sarah found herself toying with the idea of forgiveness. As difficult as it was, she recognized that holding on to anger could stifle the growth emerging in Millfield. She sought solace in therapy, confronting the multi-layered grief that had taken residence within her, understanding that she needed to redefine her path for her own healing. On the evening of the vigil, the gentle glow of candles illuminated the faces of hundreds gathered. Sarah stood at the forefront, clutching a small, flickering candle, her breath hitching as she gazed out at the sea of lights cradled by hands that mourned together. She felt a profound sense of connection, a quiet promise that happiness could coexist with sorrow. In that moment, she spoke softly, her voice breaking yet determined, sharing stories of her beautiful daughter, a girl whose laughter once danced through the streets of Millfield. Even in darkness, she said, the warmth of compassion radiating from her words, we find a way to rise. We will remember Lily, and we will protect our children fiercely. In the wake of loss, Millfield emerged anew, transformed, resilient, and forever marked by the shadows of tragedy while remembering to carry light forward. The promise of hope flickered brightly in that gathering, a reverberation of love that resonated deeply through the lifeblood of a community reborn. Reflection. As the seasons continued to turn, Millfield now carried the weight of both remembrance and resilience in its bones. The steady passage of time breathed life into the community, but it also compelled its residents to confront the tender scars of their past. Sarah Thompson had built a legacy in Lily's name, yet even within the sanctuary of the organization she formed, echoes of sorrow would revisit her, like shadows that loomed behind sunlit days. In quiet moments, Sarah often found herself sitting in Lily's room, surrounded by the relics of childhood innocence that remained untouched. The girl's drawings, showing an imaginative world full of color, provided a bittersweet balm to her aching heart. She understood now the duality of grief, often intertwined with beauty. Through the pain, Sarah rediscovered strength by choosing to forge connections and memories that would honor her daughter's spirit. In whispered conversations among the townspeople, the hope flourished. Turner often reflected on how the investigation had transformed him. It had become less about seeking justice for a crime and more about fostering a safe haven for children. He knew that the collective healing was an ongoing journey, not a destination. Every person in Millfield had become an integral thread in a tapestry of resiliency, promised to protect one another with an unyielding spirit. On the anniversary of Lily's disappearance, the town gathered once more beneath a sprawling oak, the candles gently flickering against the twilight sky. As Sarah looked out upon their faces, smiling, hopeful, and steadfast, their heart swelled with gratitude and determination. They had emerged from the shadows together, proving that love could bridge even the deepest divides. The evening brimmed with memories shared and laughter, mingled with tears, simultaneously hollow and fulfilling, encapsulating the essence of their bond. In that moment, they honored not only Lily, but every child who deserved to feel safe and cherished. It was in that collective embrace of suffering and solidarity where healing truly began. Through this journey, Millfield had learned that every soul carried a story worth telling. And in honoring those stories, they cultivated a light that would guide future generations. The delicate balance between memory and healing became a mantra, echoing long after the candles had flickered out.